In this video, we're going to be using exercise 9-1 from your textbook to demonstrate how to do a flexible budget. The company that we're doing this for is called Gator Divers, and the planning budget is given in your textbook. The planned hours, the planned activity level, is 200 actual diving hours. But the actual diving hours come out to 190. It's kind of hard to compare our actual results to a planning budget when the activity levels are different. It's kind of like comparing apples to oranges. So what we do with our flexible budget is we say, okay, if the actual diving hours were 190, what would our planning budget have been based upon the same formulas, but now multiplying times the actual activity level of 190? So when you look at revenue, we know in the planning budget that revenue is $380 per diving hour. So if you multiply that by 200, you get $76,000. That's what the planning budget was. We planned on $76,000 of revenue. But that was based upon 200 diving hours. We only had 190 diving hours. So if we want to see what our plan would have been at 190 hours, take the same $380 per hour, or 380 Q, multiply that times 190, and you get 72,200. This is an estimate of what we could have or should have expected had our plan been based upon 190 hours. So this is our flexible budget because we're flexing into actual activity levels, even though they are less than our planned activity levels. When you come down to your expenses, some of these are variable, some of these are fixed, some of these are mixed. So wages and salaries. Our salaries are probably fixed at $12,000. But we're going to have variable wages based upon the number of diving hours. So it comes out to $130 per diving hour. So if we take the $12,000 plus the product of 130 times 190, which is $24,700, we end up with wages and salaries on our flexible budget of $36,700. On our planning budget in the book, we had planned on expenses of $38,000. So this appears to be a favorable variance. Our wages and salaries are less than what we had budgeted. But don't forget, these are apples and oranges comparisons because the planning budget is based upon 200 diving hours, where the flexible budget is based upon actual diving hours of 190. As you continue to go through the rest of the budget, supplies are $5 times quantity, so 5 times 190 is $950. Equipment rental is fixed component $2,500, variable component or a variable rate of $26 per hour. So if you take the $2,500 plus the product of 26 times 190, which is $4,940, add those two together and you get $7,440. Insurance is fixed. Now if it's a fixed expense, it doesn't mean that it's not controllable. It doesn't mean that it can't be changed. It means that it's independent of the activity level. So it's important to note that. We can control and we can change our fixed expenses. What makes them fixed is that they don't change just because of the activity level. That doesn't mean that we might come in with actual insurance that's less than what's budgeted. Maybe we renegotiated, maybe premiums went up. But for right now, we're going to leave our flexible budget at the fixed amount of $4,200. Miscellaneous expenses, these are all everything else that kind of fits into the miscellaneous category. Fixed of $540 plus a variable rate of $1.50 times actual diving hours. So take the $540 plus the product of 150 times 190, which is $285, and you end up with miscellaneous budgeted expenses of $825. Add up your expenses and you get total expense of $50,115. Compare that to your revenue of $72,200, and you have a flexible budget net operating income of $22,085. This is what we should or could expect based upon our planning budget, but now using an actual activity level of 190. Based upon 190 actual diving hours, we should have had net operating income of $22,085. Later on, we're going to compare that to actual results and see how we did.